Welcome to Live Daf, your online Daf Yomi shir.
Shalom Aleichem, welcome back to today's Daf Yomi, which is Eruvin Daf Chavches, on Daf Chav Zayin Amud Beis, 3 lines from the bottom, Mai Binayu. We're going back to the Pasuk, which describes what may be purchased with funds from Maaser Sheni. The Pasuk contains Klal, Prat Uklal. It begins with a general term. You can purchase anything, any food item that you desire. And the Pasuk proceeds to provide a list of specifics. Bakar, tzayin, animals, yain, shecher, wines. And then concludes with another general term, which says you can purchase anything you desire. So it begins with klal, a general term, proceeds with a prat, a detailed list, and then concludes with another general term, klal. So you have klal, prat, or klal. The Gemara told us we have two brises, which teach us how to formulate a proper formula to determine the criteria for something that can be purchased with Maaser Sheni money. So one brisa says, look, we have all these details in the pasuk. The pasuk begins with a klal, then a prat, then a klal. We went to learn as follows: anything which has in it, which contains in it the characteristics of all those detailed items on that list. So let's find the common denominator between all those things, the animals and the wine. And anything that contains those characteristics can be purchased for Maaser Sheni money. So one brisa says the characteristics are as follows: pri mi pri, gedolei karka. Just as those, the animals, the wine, the grapes, are pri mi pri, are a product of something which in itself is a product. For instance, the animal born from its mother, which was born from its mother. And also, they're gedolei karka, they sustain themselves off the ground, they feed off the ground. Likewise, anything else that you're going to purchase from Maaser Sheni money needs to contain those two elements. The second brisa tells us we have a little bit of a different formula. What is the common denominator between all those items mentioned in the pasuk? Vlad uvladei sa'aretz. Those things are vlad vladei sa'aretz, meaning they're a product of a product which was created initially during the days of creation in Sheshmei Bereshis from the earth. So we have two slightly different approaches to determine the characteristics, the common denominator between all those items mentioned in the pasuk. It's either pri mi pri v'gedulei karka, according to one brisa. According to the second brisa, vlad vladei sa'aretz, which also means it's a product, it's an offspring. It was generated by something which in itself is an offspring, and it needed to be created initially from the ground during the Sheshmei Bereshis. Says the Gemara 3 lines from the bottom, Mai Binayu. What is the difference between both of these approaches? Is there a halachic nafkamina? Amar Abaye, yes, there is. Dogim ik binayu. The difference would be regarding fish. Because fish, although it is pri mi pri, it's a product, it's an offspring of something which in itself is a product, but fish were not created from earth. Perhaps they sustain themselves, they get their nourishment off the ground somewhat, but they weren't created during the days of creation from earth. Rather, Hashem created them from water. So this will be the nafkamina between both approaches. Dogim ike binayu. L'man amar pri mi pri v'gedolei karka. According to this approach, hani dogim gedolei karka ninu. So dogim contain both these elements. It's a pri mi pri, and also it sustains itself off the ground. It nourishes from the karka. However, according to the other shita, dogim will not be included in the list of permissible items. L'man amar vlad vladei sa'aretz. It needs to be an offspring of something which is an offspring, but has to have been created from the ground. That only pertains to animals or to plants, to the grapes. Dogim, on the other hand, mimayi ivru. They were created from water. As the Rambam explains in Pirush HaMishnah, the primary element in fish is the element, the yisod hamayim. So they were created primarily from water, as opposed to the animals and the other things which were created primarily from the earth. So this will be the nafkamina, the halachic difference between both approaches. According to the approach which says pri mi pri v'gedolei karka, fish are included. Whereas according to the other shita, it needs to be created from the earth, which includes fish. Says more, did Abaye say dogim gedolei karka ninu? Fish are considered to be gedolei karka, since they sustain themselves from the ground, are considered to be like land creatures. Va'amar Abaye, Achal Putis. Abaye told us if one eats even a very small water creature, Loika Arba, he gets 4 times malchus on account of the fact that there are 4 psukim telling us one cannot eat a water creature. Numala, if he eats a land creature such as a ant, like a chumash, he gets 5 times malchus on account of the 5 times 5 psukim that disallow eating the land creature. Sira, if he eats a flying creature like a wasp, like a sheish, he gets 6 times malchus. Says Eruvin Isa. Now, if we say that every water creature is really technically also a land creature, because it's gedulei karka, it feeds off the ground, it's sustained by the karka. If so, patis hanami lilki mishum hasheret hasheret al aretz. If so, when it comes to the patisa, which is the water creature, it should be also regarded as a land creature, and should have all the malchus that a sheret hasheret al haaretz has. So Rashi tells us in total it's going to have 7 times malchus, because the namala, which was the land creature, contained 5 malchus. And in addition to that, it's also a water creature, which adds another 2 times malchus. So apparently, a water creature has a different class, different category on its own. It's not considered like a gedulei karka, like a land creature. Ela Ravina, certainly both brises hold that dogam are not included in the allowance list, in the permissible list for purchase from Maaser Sheni money, because dogam are not considered gedulei karka, and all shitas will hold that dogam don't conform to the requirements. What then is the nafkamina between both brises? Whether the formula ends up being primi pri v'gedulei karka, or vlad desarts. What will be nafkamina, says Ravina, elam Ravina, oifais ike benai. Nafkamina will be regarding fowl, regarding birds. L'man damar primi pri v'gedulei karka. According to that approach, haninam v'gedulei karka ninu. Oifais are also gedulei karka. They sustain themselves off the ground, they've received their nourishment from the karka. So they conform to both these conditions. They have primi pri, a produce from a produce, and gedulei karka. L'man da'amar vlad v'lo haaretz. However, according to the shita, which requires it to be a product from a product of something which was created from the earth, specifically the aretz, that will exclude birds. Why? Hani oifais. These birds have been a rakak nevru. Hashem created them during the sheshes mebraces from rakak, puddle, mud. It's a combined land-sea creature. It's not considered to be strictly a v'lodois haaretz. Therefore, birds will not be included in the list. So in short, we have 3 characteristics which are found amongst those 4 items mentioned in the pasuk, which was the bakar, the tzayin, the yayin, the sheikhar. We have number 1, primi pri, number 2, gedulei karka, number 3, vlad haaretz. Birds only contain 2 of those 3 elements. It's primi pri, and it's gedulei karka, but not vlad haaretz, since they weren't created from the aretz. Therefore, there's a machlekes whether to include them in the list or not. But all agree that fish, which only contain 1 characteristic, they're only primi pri, certainly they're not included in the list. Says the Gemara, but what's the basis of this machlekes? Whether to include or exclude birds? Man de marbi oifes, my timing. The shita that includes birds in the list. What is his reasoning? Uman de mamit oifes, one who excludes birds, due to the fact that birds only contain 2 of those 3 characteristics, my timing. What is his reason? So why would one say, well, 2 is enough, and one would say, no, 2 elements is not enough? Says Gemara, depends how you interpret the formula that we mentioned earlier, klal prat klal. Let's first understand outside, the way Rashi explains it, and then take a look at the words. It'll be easier for us to understand the words inside. A klal prat klal, which means a general term followed by specifics, and concluding with a more general term, really is a sequence that contains 2 separate elements, which seem really to contradict each other. You begin with klal, the general term, followed by specifics, which indicates don't be too general, don't be too generous. You must conform to specifics. You must limit it to these specific items. That's the first element of that sequence, klal or prat. So the prat is explaining the klal to limit it to these specific things. The second part of the sequence is prat to klal. So you begin with specifics and then conclude, no, you don't need to conform to specifics. You can go very general, be very broad. So the prat is not really the end all here. We must conclude with the klal, which broadens things for us. So which one is it? Are you meant to focus on the first element of the sequence, klal or prat, meant to limit things, or the second portion of the sequence, prat or klal, which broaden things for us? So this will be the nafkamina between both brises. Depends what we focus on. Do we say, well, the first klal is dafka, that's the one we're meant to focus on. So that portion of the sequence is very limiting. The klal is interpreted by the prat to mean that this halacha only pertains to these specific items on the list, the bakar, the tzayin, the ayin, the shecher. Only these things and nothing else. But the fact is, there's another element to the sequence. It concludes with a klal. So that comes to say, well, don't limit it so much to such extreme. Add something. What are you going to add? You can include something which conforms completely, entirely, contains all the characteristics and the elements which are contained in these detailed items mentioned on the list. So that's how we conform both parts of the sequence to each other. Again, the klal and the prat, the initial portion, is very limiting, only these specific items. And the second klal comes and says, let's add something. It doesn't need to be exactly these items, but something else that you want to include needs to conform, needs to contain all the characteristics found in these elements, all the common denominators. So in our case, those specifics on the list, the bakar, the tzayin, the ayin, the shecher, contain three elements: pri mi pri, gedul karka, and created from the earth. So if you want to include anything in the list of items that can be purchased with ma'aser sheni money, it needs to contain all three elements. So this approach is a very restrictive approach. And this is the basis of the shita that excludes birds, because birds only contain two of those three elements: pri mi pri and gedul karka, but not v'lo saretz. That's one approach. The other brisa, which includes birds, says, well, it's sufficient that birds at least have two of those three elements. He holds as follows. We want to focus not on the first portion of the klal prat to klal, rather on the second element. Let's begin with prat to klal. So we have the prat, the listing, and then we have the klal, the general term, which comes to say, well, you can broaden things as far as you want. Anything can be purchased. Not just the prat. Prat or klal leads into that general term, which tells us broaden it as much as you want. So it doesn't need to conform at all to anything contained in that list. But then we have that initial klal, that initial element of the sequence, klal, which ends in a prat. And the prat seems to be explaining the klal. You can't be too broad. You must limit it to these specific things. What is that coming to say? Well, that will come to say, we're meant to limit it somewhat. Don't be so broad and purchase anything, any food item from ma'aser sheni money. But rather, it needs to conform somewhat to the list. It needs to be somewhat similar. Let it at least have two characteristics, two elements, which are found amongst the items on the list. Therefore, according to this shita, birds are included, since they contain two elements, two characteristics, which are found amongst the items on that list. The oifos are pri mi pri and gedul karka. This, in a nutshell, explains the two approaches of both brises, why we should include the birds due to the fact that they contain two elements, or why we should exclude birds due to the fact that they don't contain all three elements. Says the Gemara, man demar bi oifes mai taimi. The shita that includes birds due to the fact that they have two elements, what is his reason? Uman demar mit oifes, the shita that excludes birds, mai taimi, what is his reason? Why does he require all three elements to be found? Explains the Gemara, man demar bi oifes. According to the shita that includes birds, kasavar he holds. Klal basra dafka. The second klal is what we're meant to focus on. The second portion, the second element of this sequence of the klal prat to klal is what carries the day. Prat to klal. So we have prat and that concludes in a klal. Nasa klal moisef ala prat. The klal here is going to add very much to that prat. Vishrablu kol mili. And that includes everything. So everything gets included and is put on the allowance list. Now, we still have that first klal prat, which apparently is coming to limit something. V'hani klal kama. the first klal will come ahead and influence somewhat, lim'uti, to limit something, lim'uti called the loydamale mishneit stadim, to exclude something which does not have at least two elements, two characteristics found in the elements in the items on that list. But birds, since it has two elements, that's included. That's one sheet. Amanda ma'mayitoif is the sheet that excludes birds. He holds kasavar klal kamo dafka. The first klal is dafka. That's what we're meant to focus on, which is klal uprat. So we have a klal, and then it leads into a prat, which limits things, which details things. It specifies that the klal is not klal. Ve'ein b'chlal el masher prat. The initial wording in the pasuk, which says you can purchase anything, it's referring to these specific items. Ein b'chlal el masher prat. Hani in only these things. Midachrin loy, but nothing else. Only bakar tzayin yain v'shecher. That's up on this point. Meaning, the first element klal prat, if you just leave it right there, that only allows you to purchase those four items on the list of the pasuk. But we have the second portion of the klal prat prat, which will come to add something. V'hani klal basra, and the second klal will benefit us somewhat, l'rbuye, to add and include kol the damile. Anything which is damile, anything which is similar to the items on the list of the pasuk, mishleishat stadin, from all three angles, meaning something which contains all three elements, characteristics found in those items in the pasuk, primi pri, gdul karka, and vlodei sa'aretz, can be included in the permissible list. So in short, we have two approaches of the two brises, because the pasuk has a klal prat a klal. Now the prat, which is referring to the bakar, tzayin, yain, v'shecher, all have a common denominator. They have three elements. They're primi pri, they're produced by a product, gdul karka, they're sustained from the ground, and they were created from the ground. So according to one approach, we exclude birds because we focus on the first klal prat, which is very limiting. The second klal comes to add something, which means that you don't need to have specifically the bakar, tzayin, yain, v'shecher. But if you want to add something, it needs to contain all three elements, all characteristics found in those items on the list. Therefore, it needs to have primi pri, gdul karka, and vlodei sa'aretz, as opposed to birds, which are not vlodei sa'aretz, only contain two of those three elements. Whereas according to the other brisa, which includes birds, he holds that it's the second portion of the klal prat uklal that we're meant to focus on. So prat, which leads into a klal, is very broad. You don't need to limit it to the items on the list of prat. Klal says you can broaden it. You can purchase anything. However, the first klal, the klal prat, comes and says, well, limit it somewhat. So you begin very broad and you limit it somewhat. Meaning, it needs to conform, be similar somewhat to the items on the list. It needs to contain at least two elements of those items on the list. It needs to be primi pri, gedulei karka. And that includes birds, which contain both elements. But according to all shittas, dagim are not included, because fish only have one element, primi pri. Continues the Gemara. Omar of Yehuda v'shmeidu Rav Shmuel b'Ashilas, v'shmeidu Rav. So he told us the following halacha, the name of Rav. Ma'arvin b'pafun, one can establish an erev, for instance, an erev tchumen, using the following items: pafun vegetables, ubachalak lugais, ubagudgudaniyais, coriander. Aval loy b'chazes, you can't use chazes, which is the green grain, which is cut when it's still in its grass form, to animals. That can't be used for an erev. V'loy b'kafnias, nor can you use these unripe dates. Says the Gemara, guddaniyos, can that be used? It's something harmful to the person. V'atani, we learned in the brisa, good guddaniyos, which actually diminish a person's zera and inhibit a man from having children. So these things, merube banim yoichlu. Men who have lots of children, they can eat this plant. Chasuchi banim. Oh, but men that don't have any children, lo yoichlu, they shouldn't eat this. Now, if this plant has hardened and got to the point where it developed its zera, its seed inside, that's harmful for any person. Even ones who have lots of children shouldn't eat it. So apparently this is something which is harmful to a person. How can that be used for an erev? It's not something meant to be eaten. Says the Gemara explains that Rav's statement will be referring to a specific thing. Tergema, let's interpret Rav at shaloi hukshul zera. Number one, he's speaking about the good aniyos, which are not yet hardened, not yet produced a seeds inside. Speaking about a person who has lots of children, and therefore to him, there's no damage here. He can use this type of food, and it's suitable for him and for his Erev. Another pshat, Lo'ilam Rav is speaking about even somebody who doesn't have children. He can still use this food for his Erev, although it's not really suitable for him. It's suitable for one who has lots of children. So since it's suitable for one person, it can be used for everybody. Mila Tznan, haven't we learned a similar halacha in our Mishnah? One can use wine to establish the Erev even for a Nazir, who personally can't drink the wine. Or use truma for Erev of a Yisrael. Alma apparently, although it's not suitable for this specific person, it's suitable for another person, therefore it has prominence and significance, and can be used for anybody's Erev. Hachanam here as well. Although this good gedoniyos is not suitable for this specific person who doesn't have any children, it's suitable for the other person who has children, therefore it can be used for anybody's Erev. Another pshat. When Rav says it can be used, he's speaking at a certain variety. Bahan de kuki madoi, speaking about this good gedonius which grows in madai, and over there it's not harmful, actually it's beneficial to the person. So I have three pshatim in Rav. Number one, either we're speaking about the good gedonius and not yet hardened, and we're speaking about a person who has a lot of children. Number two, if it's suitable for the person with lots of children, anybody can use it. Or number three, speaking about a specific variety of this type of plant, which is actually not harmful at all. Continues the Gemara. Rav told us, one cannot use chazes, this young grain, this grain which was cut when it's still in its grass form. We cannot use this for Erev. Is that so? He told us in the name of Rav himself. Kishus, which means hops. V'chazes, ma'arvim behem. One can establish an Erev with these things. The proper bracha is adama. So it seems to be a contradiction. Here he says chazes is suitable, and before he says it isn't. He says Kasha, the answer is like this. Depends at one point in history you're speaking about. Ha mikame das Rav leBavel. Rav tells us chazes is not suitable for Erev. That's prior to his arrival in Bavel. However, the second Rav, which says you can use the chazes, is ha lebasar das Rav leBavel. After he arrived at Bavel, and he saw that in Bavel they were accustomed to eating this chazes, so he considered it to be a proper food and can be used for an Erev. Says the Gemara, just the fact that he arrived in Bavel and he saw that in Bavel they had the custom to eat this, does that have the power to determine the halacha and establish the criterion for the entire world? Render it into something suitable, something edible? Bavel have Eruvin the Alma. Bavel is the majority of the world that have the ability to establish and determine for the entire world just because they eat it. Why does it change the status of the chazes? Vatani, we learned in a brisa that we don't reckon with a custom of a specific land, specific locale, and an individual person. As we learned in the brisa, hapul, the bean, vasoira or barley, vatilson, this fenugreek plant, shezoron, liyoruk. And this fellow decided to plant them for the sake of eating them in vegetable form, meaning eating their in leafy form, not waiting for it to develop into the grain, into the seed. But his das, his mind, his attitude becomes nullified in view of the commonly adopted practice, which is to wait until this thing properly matures and then harvest it properly. Therefore, says the Brisa Lefichach, Zaron Chayev, this is regarding Maser, that only when it develops into a proper seed is it liable for Meiser, is the Yechiv Meiser. But the Yarkan Pata, but its leaves, its vegetable form, that's Pata from Meiser. Although he specifically had that in mind. He wants to produce vegetables, wants to produce it and eat it in its leafy form. We say no, that's not considered to be a properly developed plant, despite the fact that he has a das for that. Why? Because batla daitet is kol adam. The common practice is to let it grow properly and develop properly and form the seeds. So only the seeds are chayv meiser, but the leaves are not. So apparently we don't follow a specific individual person's frame of mind. Continues the Bryce. Hachshachlayim, this is cress, v'agarger, some other form of, the Gemara says soon it's used as a dip, some type of seasoning perhaps. Shezoron liyerak. So now these plants are consumed in both forms. People consume them as seeds and developed into the whatever product needs to be developed here, the seeds, etc. And also the leaves and the yerek, the vegetable portion of it, is also considered to be part and parcel of this plant. So hashachlayim v'agager shezoron liyerek. Let's say he had in mind to plant it for the sake of the yerek, to eat it in its vegetable form. Mis asrim yerek v'zera. The meiser applies to the yerek portion and also the zera portion. They're both considered to be equally important elements of this plant. Zoron lezera. If he intended on planting it for its seed value, mis asrim zera v'yerek, then the maser, the chi of a maser, applies to both elements again, the zera and the yerek. As Rashi explains, these things are eaten on both accounts. They have two parts to them. Therefore, they're both equally important. But, getting back to the pull, the sa'ira, and the tilson, in that case we say, the main element there is the zera. And despite the fact that he planted it for the sake of its yerek, the yerek is pata from maser. It's not considered to be its proper product. Rather, only the zera, the seed, is chayv meiser. So you see that we don't reckon with an individual and his intention. So getting back to chazes, just because Rav saw that in Bavel they would eat chazes, why does that determine matters and change the halachic status of chazes and render it suitable for Erev, for the entire world, which doesn't eat chazes? Says the Gemara, Kikama Rav. You know what Rav is referring to? Rav who says that chazes can be used. He's speaking about bedigenu naisa, a specific variety of chazes which is grown in the gardens, which is eaten by all. Let's take a look at Rashi, the top line here. Bedigenu naisa, bechazes shegadu begina, grows in the garden. The kuli alma achlilu. All people eat this. That's the pshat. The first Rav was speaking about standard chazes, which is not eaten by most people, therefore it's not suitable for Erev. The second Rav, which allows chazes to be used for Erev, is speaking about this specific variety, which is consumed by all. Says the Gemara, zera gargir l'may chazit. So we just mentioned the zera, the seed of this gargir plant, which is chayv meiser. Apparently it's considered to be an edible product, and therefore this chayv meiser. L'may chazit, what is it used for? How is it eaten? Amar Rabbi Yochanan, although it's not eaten directly, but it's used as a dip. Shekein rishonim, because in the early generations, shloihan and pilpulin, they didn't have peppers. What would they do instead? Sheichen oisei, they would crush this seed of the gargir plant, and they would dip their roasted meat into it. So although it's not eaten directly, it is still considered to be a proper pri, and it's chayv meiser. Continues the Gemara. Reb Zera was exhausted from his learning. So although he couldn't learn at this point, but he would still wanted to get some reward, some schar. So this is what he would do. Haba Azal v'Yosef would go and sit down at the entranceway of Rabbi Yehuda bar Ami's home. Omar, he said, Ki nafki, v'ayli rabbanon, when the chachamim come out and go in, ikum mikamayu, let me stand up before them, v'kavu agra, and as a result, I will receive schar for according them honor. So he was sitting there, and this is what happened. Nafak, asi nuka debeirav, out came a child from the yeshiva there, from his Rebbe. Amarle, so Zera returned to him and he said, my agrach rabbach, what did your Rebbe teach you? Amarle, so he told him two things. Kishus, there's hops, this plant called hops. But Adam, the proper bracha is Adam. Chaziz, which is the grain, the green grain. Shakhoil niyabed dvarei, that's the proper bracha. Amarle, so Zera responded, Adrab, just the opposite. If chamastavra, it seems that the correct approach is in the reverse. Why? Hops grows off a plant. It feeds off a bush, some thorns. So it's not directly being sustained by the earth below, as opposed to chazis, which grows right out of the ground. Therefore, says Rav Zera, the proper bracha for the chazis should be adama. Hi, the chazis ma'arakut marbi. It's sustained and nourishes itself from the ground, and therefore the bracha is adama. Hi, as opposed to the hops, which grows off another bush. Ma'aviru kamarbi, it's sustained, it gets its nourishment from the air. So it's an indirect nourishment from the ground, and therefore the bracha here is not hadama. Says the Gemara, Nevertheless, the halacha follows the quote that the Yinuka, the Beirav, said, which was that the chazes is shahakal, and the kishus, the hops, is very priyadam. Why? My time and why? Hai gemar peri. The hops are considered to be a fully developed fruit, fully developed product, and therefore the bracha is adama. V'hai, as opposed to the chazes, the green grain, lav gemar peri, is not considered to be a fully developed product, and therefore there's no hadama, rather shahakal, it's downgraded to shahakal. Umay deka amras. And regarding what you said, hai ma'ar karabi, that the chazes is nourished directly from the ground, v'hai ma'ar karabi, as opposed to the hops, which are nourished from the air, it's actually not so. Kishus nami ma'ar karabi. The kishus as well is nourished from the ground. Why? How do I know? This will prove it. The halka chazina we see, the katlin le'leis masa, when we chop off the bush, which supports the hops, what happens? A ma'aser kishus, the hops dies. So apparently, although it's sitting on the bush, it is getting direct sustenance from the earth below, and therefore the bracha there is very priyadam. Continues the Gemara. Ubekafnis ein ma'arvin. Getting back to Rav's statement that one cannot use these unripe dates to create an eruv. Is that so? V'atani, we learned in the Bryce. Kur, which is the new shoots of the palm tree, nikach b'kesef maser. One can purchase it from money of maser sheni because it's edible. However, it's not really classified as a proper food, and therefore it cannot become tummy as a food. Let's take a look at Rashi inside, 4 lines from the top. Kur, says Rashi, davar rach, a soft substance, hanoisev al adekel, which gets added, grows onto the palm tree b'chol shana every year. So it's a new shoot, the new branches. V'koydem she'agiu, ma'asak shaman, prior to winter, miskasha v'yasa eitz, when it will harden and turn to a branch. Kur le kur, that's when it's called kur. At this point, when it's still soft and edible, v'toiv l'machalu, it's perfectly edible. Says Rashi, nikav kasav maser, it can be purchased from maser sheni funds. Why? Because it has those guidelines. The primi pri, v'gdula karku. It contains both elements. It's a product from a product. It comes from a tree, which was created from a seed, etc. And gdula karku, it sustains itself from the ground. Therefore, it can be purchased from maser sheni money. And it comes from a tree which was created actually from the ground as well. So these two things are clear. It can be purchased with Maser Sheni money, and continues Rashi, it is not really classified as food with regards to tumah, even if he intends on eating it. It's not really considered to be a proper food, and therefore it's not becoming tamei as a food. Continues the Gemara. So kur nikar b'kesef maser. Continues the Bryce of a kafnis, these unripe dates. Nikhois because of maser, it can be purchased with maser sheni funds. Umet hamas tumas oichlin, and it is classified as a proper food, and therefore becomes tummy as a food. So you see clearly that even kafnias, these unripe dates, are considered to be a full-fledged food. So why does Rav tell us it can't be used for an eruv? So this is Tanakama. Rabbi Doimer, koyr haru ke'esel chol dvarav. The Gemara is going to tell us that Rabbi is not really disagreeing too much with Tanakama. There's some sort of difference between them, as well explain. In any case, Rabbi says kur is considered like a branch, like a piece of wood. Elo shenikah b'kesef maser, but it can still be purchased for maser sheni money since it's edible. So that's regarding the kur. He seems to be mirroring Tanakama's opinion. But there's some sort of difference. The Gemara is going to say regarding bracha. Tanakama says you make hadama, Rabbi says shakel. Okay, that's regarding the kur. What about regarding the kafniyas, these unripe dates? Says Rabbi Yehuda, "V'kafniyos harein kepril chol devreim." They're regarded as a proper fruit. Ela shepturos min ha'maser, but when it comes to maser, there's no chiv maser. Why? Because it wasn't really a finished product. As it says, "Lenigro malachtam," it's not fully developed. Therefore, there's no chiv maser. As opposed to Tanakama, who maintains they're considered to be a pri, and there is a chiv maser. So that small difference there is between Rabbi and Tanakama. But in any case, we see that all agree kafniyos are considered to be edible and food, and why when it comes to eruv does Rav say you cannot use it? Says the Gemara, there are two varieties of these types of dates. Hasam, that brayso which considers these to be proper food, b'dinis chani. We're speaking about male palm trees, which produce these unripe dates which will never fully ripen, and therefore they're considered to be properly developed. They're not going to get more better than this. And therefore, they can be used for Eruv. One can purchase them for Ma'aser Sheni money. But Rav, who prohibited the kafnis from being used for an Eruv, he's speaking about proper trees. Rashi says female date trees which produce proper dates. Therefore, these unripe dates are not considered to be properly developed. They're not considered to be a proper pri, and you cannot use them for the Eruv. So it depends what type of variety we're speaking about. Says Gemara, but if this Bryce is discussing the schani, these male palm trees, which can't produce anything better than this, if so, why does Rav Yehuda say there's no chiv mas here? This is considered to be fully developed. It's not going to get better than this. V'atanya, how we went in the Bryce, Rav Yehuda seems to tell us that these types of products, which will only develop this far, are considered to be finished products regarding Ma'aser. Rav Yehuda. V'atanya Rav Yehuda lo yuskuru page bisyuni. The Chacham only mention these unripe figs from bisyuni. Elelini mas v'avad only pertain to halach of mas. What does he mean? Page bisyuni. These types of unripe figs from this place called Bisuni. Ve'ahini. These unripe dates, the tuvina of this place, tuvina. Rashi explains these are the male, these male palm trees. Chayav ma'aser. These things are considered to be as developed as you'll get. They don't get any better than that. Therefore, this variety is chayav ma'aser, even though they're still somewhat unripe. So the Bryce earlier is discussing this type of variety. Why does Rita disagree with Tanakam? Why does he say there's no chayav ma'aser here? Says Ella la'olam lav b'nischani. Says more truthfully speaking, the Bryce here is not actually discussing the schani variety of palm trees, these male palm trees which only produce these unripe dates. Actually, the Bryce is speaking about proper, standard, ordinary palm trees which have the ability to develop proper dates. Therefore, undeveloped and unripe dates are not suitable, for instance, for Eruv, just as Rav told us. The question remains, if so, why then does the Bryce say that it is classified as an oichel with regards to tumas oichlin? Says the Gemara, tumas oichlin? That works with different guidelines. U'inin tumas oichlin shani, that's different. Kedar Rabbi Yochanan, as Rabbi Yochanan told us, Rabbi Yochanan is discussing a different halacha, which will be discussed in the upcoming Gemara. But just as Rabbi Yochanan stated this rationale over there, which is that even something which is currently inedible is reckoned with why? Since he has the ability to sweeten them, to render it edible by roasting it on the fire. Here as well with regards to these unripe dates. When it comes to tumas oichlan, we classify it as a food. Why? For this same reason. Here as well, since he has the ability to sweeten them and render them edible to roasting over the fire. Therefore, it is classified as an oichel and is metama tumas oichlan. But that's strictly over there. When it comes to Eruv, this factor doesn't really contribute much, because the point of Eruv is that in the present moment it should be edible. The point of the Eruv is where the food is, that's where the person is, that's his dira. Therefore it needs to be edible in the current present moment. But if it's undeveloped and unripe, it cannot be used for an Eruv, just as Rav told us. So regarding dates from your standard tree which are meant to ripen, that can't be used. But the dates from the nischani trees, which will only develop this far, that's considered to be a proper pri and can be used for Eruv as well. So in summary, Rav gave us a list of items that can be used for an Eruv, and the Gemara interpreted as follows. When it comes to good gedoniyos, we have three approaches. Either we're speaking about they have not yet hardened and they're going to be used by a person who has many children. The second approach in the Gemara was it can be used by anybody, since it's right for a person with many children. The third approach was Rabbah speaking about the specific variety that grows in Madai, which is not at all harmful to the person. Regarding using green grain, the chazes, the Gemara concluded that if it's of the Gina variety, the garden variety, which is edible and eaten by ordinary people, that is suitable for Eruv. And in fact, the bracha is Bar Piyadama. Regarding kafniyos, the unripe dates, so if they come from the schani, the male palm trees, they're considered to be proper peris and can be used. But from your standard palm tree, it's considered to be undeveloped, unripe, and not useful for the Erev. When it comes to kishus, which is the hops, that can be used. And in fact, the bracha on that is Beir Pri Adam. Continues the Gemara. So we just quoted Rabbi Yochanan Svar, where the Rabbi Yochanan apply that reasoning to. Aha, on the following brayso. The Sanyas went from the brayso Shkeidim Amar. There are two varieties of almonds. We have the bitter almonds and the sweet almonds. Bitter almonds means when they grow and develop, then they're going to be bitter. They can only be eaten when they're small and still edible, as opposed to these sweet almonds, which will develop and grow into sweet and edible almonds. Says the brayso, Shkeidim Hamorim, the bitter ones, so when they fully ripen, they're bitter. Ketanim Chayavin. So the only time they're chayiv in Meiser is when they're small, because right now they're edible. That's considered to be its finished product. Because once they develop further, they're no longer edible. Therefore, at that point, when they're small, they're chayiv in Meiser, G'dolim term. However, when they grow large, then they're potter for Meiser, because they're not edible. Misukim, the opposite will apply to these sweet ones. Misukim G'dolim Chayavin, when they're large and fully developed, then they're considered to be a finished product, and they're chayiv in Meiser, K'tanim, but when they're still young and small, P'turim, because they're not yet finished, not yet fully developed, therefore they're potter from Meiser. So this is Tanakam. Rabbi Shimon, Rabbi Yosi, Mishum Aviv, he quoted his father as follows: Zeh v'zeh niptur. So he's speaking about the bitter ones. So whether they're large-sized or small-sized, it's still potter from Meiser. Why? When they're large, of course they're potter, they're inedible. Even when they're small and edible, it's not considered to be a properly developed fruit, and therefore it's potter from Meiser. V'amila, there's another shita which says just the opposite, pertaining to these bitter almonds. Zeh v'zeh l'chiv, whether small or large, they're chayiv in Meiser. The Gemara soon will explain the reason. So what is the halacha? Amar Billah Hayra. Rabbi Chanina b'Tzipori. Rabbi Chanina ruled in the town of Tzipori, K'divrei Omer, according to the shita which says Zeh v'zeh liftur, the bitter almonds are potter, whether small or large. Says more Lamanda Amar Zeh v'zeh l'chiv, according to the one who says that in both stages they're chayiv, whether small or large. L'may chazi, once they grow large, they're bitter. What are they useful for? Why are they chayiv in Meiser? Amar Rabbi Yochanan Hayil v'roi l'matkan they are, since one can go ahead and render it edible, sweeten it by roasting over the fire. Therefore, we regard it as a piri and as chayiv in Meiser even when it's large in size. Continues the Gemara, Amar Mar, we learned earlier, we had the brayso discussing the kur, which was the shoots, the fresh branches of the palm tree, before they harden and turn into wood. They're still edible. So the Tanna Kama tells us that one can purchase it for Meiser Sheni money since it's edible, and it is not metame tumas eichlin because it's not really classified as a food. Rabbi Yehuda responds by saying, kur is just like an ordinary piece of wood, but it can be purchased for Meiser Sheni money. Isn't he saying the same exact thing as the Tanna Kama? Amar we learned earlier, Rabbi Yehuda Omer, it's regarded entirely like a piece of wood. Ella, shenikach b'kesef maser can be purchased for Meiser Sheni funds. Hainu Tanna Kama. This is exactly what Tanna Kama said. Amar Abaye, you know what the difference will be? Shloke v'tigna ikibinai. If he extensively cooked it or fried it, tigna means he fried it, ikibinayu. That will be the point of the difference between Tanna Kama, who says that once he extensively cooks it or fries it, at that point it gets classified like an oichel and is metame tumas oichel. Whereas Rabbi Yehuda maintains it's like a piece of wood. Even if you go ahead and cook it and fry it, it doesn't change its status. It was wood, it remains wood, and therefore there's no tumas oichel. So is that the case? That Rabbi Yehuda disagrees when it comes to cooking or frying? Mask Rava. Is there anybody that holds shloke v'tignei loy? That if you extensively cook it or fry it, it doesn't change its status, it doesn't render it into a food? Vatani, we went to the brayso. Even when it comes to skin, the animal skin, vashulya, the sack of the fetus, it's not classified as food with regards to tumas oichlin, but if you actually extensively cook that hide, that skin, or he designated the shilya, this sack of the fetus, for eating purposes. In either case, whether he cooked the skin or designated the shilya matama to mas'oichel, from now on it's considered to be an oichel and is matama to mas'oichel. So we see even when it comes to oir, skin of an animal, cooking helps. Certainly the kur, which is really currently edible, even prior to cooking. So how can we say that Rabbi Yehuda would disagree and he'll hold that even go ahead and cook that kur, it will not be considered an eichel? Says more, apparently that's not the point of machlekes. All agree that if you would extensively cook it, certainly it's considered to be a proper eichel. Elam arava. You know what difference would be between Hakam and Rabbi Yehuda? Bracha. What is the appropriate bracha to be made on this kur? The Itmar, as we learned likewise, machlekes amayroim, with regards to this topic, kur. So these shoots of the palm tree are bidamya ber pri adama. The proper bracha is ber pri adama. It's edible. Why shouldn't you make a ber pri adama? Ushmol amashakol nibedvari. We downgrade it to a shakol. Explains the Gemara why. Rabbi bidamya ber pri adama oichlu. It's a proper food. Therefore, we make adama. Ushmol ama shakol nibedvari. Why? Since it stands to harden, so it's not really considered a fruit, a proper food. It's a potential branch. Therefore, therefore, it's not a proper fruit, not a proper peri, and we don't consider it for ber pri adama. Rather, we downgrade it, we make a bracha, but a general bracha, a shahaka. Amalei Shmuel Rav Yehuda. So Shmuel, who disagreed with Rav Yehuda, Shmuel held shahakal. He turned to Rav Yehuda, who says adama, and he said, Shinina, sharp one, kavaseich mastavra. Indeed, your approach seems to be correct. The proper bracha is hadam. Why? I'll prove it to you. The ha tznoin, a radish. Sheseifer lahakshis. Eventually, it's going to harden if left in the ground. And what bracha do you make on it? Umevarachin alei ber pri adama. When it's still edible, you make adama. So apparently, even though something is going to harden in the future, it's considered to be a fruit in the present moment. Likewise, this kur, even though it's going to harden later on, it's considered to be a peri, and we make ber pri adam. Says Gemara, not necessarily. You could draw a distinction between a radish, which is meant to be eaten prior to hardening. Therefore, it's considered to be a proper peri now, as opposed to the kur, the palm shoot, which actually damages the tree. It's not really meant to be picked off the tree. So the intent when you plant the palm tree is not to pick off the core. It's meant to remain in place until it hardens. So that's the distinction between the two. V'loi, tznoin, a radish, not the inchi adak the pugla. The intent when one plants it is for it to be eaten while edible, while it's soft, as opposed to the dikla, the palm tree. Like not the inchi adak the kura. One doesn't plant a palm tree with the intent to eat the kura. Therefore, since it's not really the intent of the planter, so we can't grant it significance. So even though at this point it's still soft, but it's really intended to remain in place, as the planter had in mind, to harden, to become part of his tree. And therefore we look at the future. We look at the fact that it's going to turn into a branch. Not meant to pick it off now. It's not intended for current consumption. And therefore, it doesn't have the chashivas of a peri, of a finished product. You cannot make a ber pri adama. Concludes the Gemara. Va'afagav the kalse Shmuel Rav Yehuda. So although Shmuel praised Rabbi Yehuda, Hilchas kaved Shmuel, the halacha actually follows Shmuel's shita. We make a shakal. But getting back to the Bryce earlier, this was the point of machlekes between Tanna Kama and Rabbi Yehuda. Tanna Kama maintained that the core is meant to have a ber pri adama, whereas Rabbi Yehuda says, it's like a piece of wood, it's going to harden, and therefore the proper bracha is shakal. And indeed, that's how the Gemara concludes the proper bracha is shakal nevidvar. So in conclusion, regarding the kur, one can purchase it from Ma'aser Sheni money, since it's fully edible in its current state. Regarding tumas oichlin, it's not classified as a food, and it's not matama tumas oichlin. But if he sholka v'tignai, he extensively cooked it or fried it, that transforms it and is classified as a proper oichel with regards to tumas oichel. Regarding the bracha, Tanna Kama maintains it's shakal, since it's going to harden. Reader maintains it's for Priyadam. The Gemara concludes the proper bracha shakal. Continues the Gemara Gufa. We just learned Amarav Yehuda Amarav. Kishus v'chazis, hops and the green grain, the grass grain. Ma'arvin behen, one can use it for an erev. U'mevarchen aleihem bar Priyadam. The proper bracha is Adam. Now Gemara is going to discuss what is the required quantity, the amount needed from all these things to create an erev. And we know the concept of erev is based on the amount needed, the volume of 2 su'udas. Person eats 2 su'udas a day. That's considered to be a significant amount of food, which renders the location of the food his dira, becomes his dwelling area. So the Gemara is going to discuss what is the amount needed from all these different types of foods, and what is considered an amount suitable for 2 sudas. Says the Gemara, Kishus bekama, how much hops are needed for the erev? K'da Amar Bechil K'mle'ayad, as Rabbi Bechil told us in the upcoming Gemara regarding something else, a handful. Hachanam here as well, K'mle'ayad, a handful. Chazis bekama, how much of that? Amarav Bar Tuvi Bar Yitzchak, Amarav K'mle'ayad Zilta the Ikri, size of a farmer's bundle. So the point here is that apparently these shiurim are what's eaten of these different varieties during 2 meals. Meaning he's not going to sit and have a whole meal from this type of thing. He's going to add it to his meal, and this is the quantity, the amount needed for 2 sudas. Continues Umar Omar of Chalki Bar Tuvia Ma'arim Bekalya. One can use this hard stalk for an erev. Bekalya sakadaitach. Can you say that can be used? It's not edible. Ela biyarka the kalya. Speaking of the green portion, the leafy vegetable portion of this plant. Bekama, how much is needed? Amar V'chil K'mle'ayad, the handful. Says Amar of Yirmiyah Nafel L'Kiryasi, went out to the fields. Boi Minei, they asked him the following question: Ma'ula Arvik Fulim Lachen. Can one use fresh, moist beans, uncooked beans, but they're fresh and they're edible? Can one use them for the erev? L'hava biyadei, he didn't know the answer. Kiyasa be'medrash, when it came to Beis Medrash, Amar Lei. So they responded to him, Hochem Rav Yanai. This is what Rav Yanai said, Ma'arvin Pulm Lach, and one can use this for an erev. The kama, how much is needed? Amar Rav Chil K'mle'ayad, a handful. Amar Rav Amnuna, Ma'arvin Betrodden Chayin. One can use raw beets for an erev. Eini says, is that so? It's harmful. V'amar Rav Chizda, Silka Chaya. A raw beet, Katel Gavra Chaya, killed a live person. This was a sort of play on words. Silka Chaya, Katel Gavra Chaya. A raw beet killed a healthy person. It's dangerous. It's not going to have use for an erev. It's not suitable. It's not edible. It says Ma'ahu b'bashal le'bashal. Rav Chizda was speaking about improperly cooked, a partially cooked beet. But a properly cooked beet or a raw beet is perfectly edible. Ike de Amri, there's another version, Amar Rav Nuna, Ein Ma'arvin b'shod n'chayim. One cannot use raw beets for the erev. The Amar of Chizda, as Rav Chizda said, Silka Chaya Katel Gavra Chaya. It's dangerous. It says but we see that people eat it and they're okay, they don't die. Hasan b'vashal b'vashal of Chizda. And likewise, Rav Nuna was speaking about the beets which were partially cooked and therefore they are dangerous and inedible. But raw or properly cooked are perfectly fine. Amar of Chizda, Tafshil Shel Trodden. A dish containing beets, Yafa Leiv, is beneficial to one's heart, and good for one's eyes, the Koshkein, certainly of Neima'im, for one's stomach, one's intestines. Amar Abai needs to be properly cooked. V'hudi Yosef, provided that it's sitting at Beitapi on the stove, and it's making that teich sound, it's bubbling, which indicates that it's properly cooked and properly dissolved in this dish. In that case, it is indeed beneficial. Okay, time for a brief review of today's daf. We began with the question of what can be purchased with my Shesheni money. The Gemara concluded that according to both prices, fish are not included on that list. Regarding fowl, birds, we have a machlekes. The Gemara gave us a list in the name of Rav of things that can be used for an erev. The Gemara concluded as follows: good gdaniyos, this coriander can be used. We have 3 approaches. We're speaking about if it's edible and going to be used by a person who has children, or even otherwise. Since it's suitable for the person with lots of children, or we're speaking about this variety from Monday, which is beneficial and not harmful to the person. Regarding these chazis, this grain which is still in its grass form, If it's from a gina, the garden variety, that's considered to be edible and can be used for the Erev. What makes Hadam on it and how much is needed for the Erev, the Gemara concluded, like the size of a farmer's bundle. Regarding those unripe dates, that can't be used if it's from a standard tree, but nischali, from these male palm trees, that's considered to be fully developed. It can be used for the Erev. Regarding kishus, which is the hops, that can be used in the brachas adama. How much is needed? A handful. And then we concluded with a list of various items and the shiurim required to make an Erev, and concluded with the health benefits of properly cooked beets.